So 1930, I moved down to Minneapolis and started working at Cinema Supplies that Joseph Newell owned. And the first day, he takes me into the engineering department. He says, "Hey everybody, this is Fred, he's our new engineer. Okay, bye." Why do you think he just kind of pushed me into the room and left? What do you think he was a little nervous about? Maybe how they would take to me. All the other engineers were white. 1930, pushes me in. He just leaves. A couple hours later, he comes back. We're talking about different ideas, different problems that they've been encountering, and what kinds of solutions I might have. And he says, maybe. He goes out again. And another couple hours later, he comes back to the engineering department. We're now to be seen. He wonders, maybe they threw him out. He goes outside, looks down the street. He sees us at the corner cafe, drinking coffee, again, talking about problems, solutions. He said, "Phew, I guess this guy's going to work out." I never really thought there'd be a problem to begin with. I just loved working there at Cinema Supplies. I would create amplifiers, and also I created a ticket dispensing machine. And it was for this ticket dispensing machine that I received my first patent as an inventor. And so, you go to the movies and the machine spits out the tickets. Well, this was my version of that. And this patent was granted to me in 1938. 1939, sorry. But a year before that, 1938, my boss, Mr. Numero, he was out playing golf Thursday in May. And he was with Harry Warner, owner of a trucking company in Minneapolis, Al Feinberg, an executive in an air conditioning company, and Mr. Warner, the truck company owner, got word that one of his trucks with a load of freshly killed chickens had broken down. All the chicken had spoiled, and he's furious. And he turns to Al Feinberg and he says, "Al, if people can air condition a movie theater, why can't they figure out how to air condition a long-haul truck?" Al said, "People have tried to come up with different ideas, they just have never worked out on the road." And you had mentioned this already before, but how were produce, meats cooled on the trucks and trains in the 1930s? With ice and salt. So you imagine cutting blocks of ice in the rivers and then packing trains, tanks with ice, or similarly in a truck. And if you have problems, if you don't have enough ice, if the vehicle breaks down, the ice melts, your produce spoils. Well, my boss, Mr. Numero, he's listening to Al and Harry, and he says, "Harry, if Al here can't make a cooling unit for your truck, my company can do it. We can do it in 30 days. He was just joking. But the next week, Mr. Warner calls him up and he says, "Joe, I want a cooling unit put on one of my trucks, just as you said." My boss said, "Harry, I was kidding." He said, No, Joe, you made this motion to make a cooling unit for one of my trucks. I'm sending over a new truck. I want a cooling unit put on it." My boss said, "All right, I'll have one of my chief engineers look it over." Who's his chief engineer? So, we're getting this new truck that's brought over, making some calculations about what we might do. And see, needed my slide rule. Started to use that. As I said, I didn't know why I wanted one, but I certainly did. We were making calculations about it, and I came up with this idea for a self-contained unit. We knew what truckers wanted. They wanted things like it being lightweight, dependable, simple to operate, simple to install, saving payload space, reasonable cost, low maintenance cost, automatic temperature control. So we knew what the truckers would want, and we came up with what we called Model A. So we would have our coolant that would go to our evaporator coils and get really cold and then go through into the compressor and then to the condenser and back into the tank. And we wanted it all one unit, independent of the truck's engine, so if the truck broke down, it wouldn't affect the actual cooling unit. So we made this cooling unit and we called it Model A, and we started to sell it throughout the country. Where did we mount the cooling unit on the truck? What was that? On the bottom? On the bottom, exactly. And so we put it underneath the truck, but we didn't stick with that design. Why do you think we didn't stick with that design? What might happen as you're on the road? Rocks. Yeah, exactly, right? rocks, bumps, cooler dips, all kinds of dust, dirt, tears apart on the road. So we went back to the drawing board, as the saying goes, and we created our next unit. And of course, the unit is on the nose of the box of the truck. And we started to sell these units throughout the country and in other countries. And Mr. Numero realized that this is going to make quite a bit of money. So he sells his movie equipment company to RCA, and he starts a whole new company called US Thermo Control. Now, at first we call these units thermotrols, and then we start to call the units themselves Thermo Kings. And then by 1956, we call the entire company Thermo King. And I'm its vice president in charge of engineering. I just loved working there at Thermo King. I would eat, drink, sleep Thermo King. 1948, I married Lucille Louise Powell, and she agreed to live with me there. And I don't know how many of you, your spouses, significant others, would want to live where you work. But anyway, she wanted us to buy a house, which we did about 10 years later. But I just would love to go back up to the apartment after a long day and just relax. And Mr. Werner, who owned the transportation company, the trucking company that had the spoiled chicken, he certainly was happy we wouldn't have that spoiled chicken, we wouldn't lose that millions and millions of dollars of spoiled food every year. But you think about the impact of this cooling unit innovation. And as this article says, $1 million cooler firm started as a joke. But the impact was certainly no joke. You think about going from this little company to a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company. And the impact changed the whole way that people eat in the world, as fundamental as that. Before, you might buy food that was grown within 30 miles of where you lived, raised there, and go to the local store. But now, you can have food from all around the country, all around the world, at any time of year. You could have your clementines in the middle of winter from Spain, if you like, any kind of food that you like. And so it changed the whole way that the world eats. Another thing, shipping cargo anywhere in the world, if it was difficult enough to keep cargo cool and fresh in a truck or a train, imagine importing it, or exporting it, I should say, all around the world. So on a ship like this, you still have ice and salt, but now this idea of containerization, where you'd have a self-cooled container that could go from a truck to a train to a ship, and then off it goes, cargo anywhere. Think about fragile cargo too, like honeybees or flowers or baby chicks. And honeybees get to a frenzy if they're too warm. You cool them down, they're much easier to transport. And so even transporting honeybees, fragile cargo like that, is cool unit innovation. 1940s, as we're making these cooling units, what's going on in the world then? World War II.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this important bulletin from the United Press.
The tax bill harbor away by air, President Roosevelt has just announced. This act also is made on all naval and military activities on the principal island of Oahu.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
As the United States got into the War Department called refrigeration engineers to Washington, D.C. They wanted to come up with an idea of a self-contained cooling unit that could be dropped down to the troops in the South Pacific that they could assemble and keep their foods fresh, their medicines fresh. So I was invited to Washington, D.C. as well. All the engineers were put up at a beautiful hotel. Could I stay at that same hotel, 1940s, as the other engineers? The same issues as when I was auto racing were still there in this country in the 1940s. But I decided I'm still going to go to this conference anyway. I'll let their issues be their issues, but I'm going to go to this conference and share my ideas. And it was many of my ideas that the War Department used to have these cooling units created. And so we would drop these units down into, for the troops in the South Pacific, and then they could create their refrigeration units for their foods and their medicines as well. And so there was that impact. In fact, the Brigadier General of the Quartermaster Corps, he wrote this to Mr. Numero. He said, "Dear Mr. Numero, this office wishes to express its appreciation and commendation to you and the personnel of your company for the loyalty, unceasing effort, and many contributions afforded the Quartermaster Corps during the past few years. We are particularly grateful for the work of Mr. Fred Jones and the other members of your engineering department." And really, it was that relationship with the War Department that got Thermo King on the map and helped to have it grow and become a renowned place. This cooling unit innovation would have led to changing the way that we eat, hauling fragile cargo, hauling cargo internationally, preserving food and medicines for troops, and progress in space travel in those early years. All of that comes from this cooling unit innovation. And I think about my life starting where it did and ending up here. It's no wonder that people started to recognize me, give me all kinds of recognition.
Recognition incredibly well deserved. Take a minute to reflect how Fred Jones's innovations have personally affected you, and to be inspired by this man's journey. Mr. Jones's legacy will remain as long as we continue to embody his innovative spirit in everything we do. And Thermo King continues to transport food, medicine, and other valuable cargo around the globe.